Yes, we
Could be
are.
streaming. Oh, we are streaming. How about that? Okay, so we are going to be streaming live. We'll see if people come in, and then we'll tell everyone kind of what we're doing. We'll have a few people show up in a few minutes. We normally do,
Yeah.
right? Usually within a couple of minutes, there's a ton of people here. So that'll be cool. So we have nobody watching yet, but yeah, so I thought this would be really cool. So this is going to be, and we'll let people know in the archive what this is. So if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, this is kind of something just kind of off the cuff. This is going to be, I was going to do some questions and coffee videos. I was going to record those today, and I was going to start scheduling them out and posting them on YouTube because I have a whole bunch of questions that have come in over the last couple of weeks. But then I thought, gee, wouldn't it be kind of fun to do a questions and coffee live? Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then I said, well, it would be kind of boring if we did it live all by myself. How about if I asked my friend Jonny Scotland over at Lipsham Studios, Jonny Lipsham Studios, and he said, sure, I'm just hanging out. Let's get on and let's do a questions and coffee video together. So that's kind of what we're doing. So what we're going to do in this video for maybe the next 30 minutes or so is we have a bunch of questions that have come in. I'm going to grab 3 or 4 of them. I'm going to read the question, and then Jonny and I are going to chime in and try to help you answer those questions for you. Sound good? So that's what's kind of going on. We have 4 people watching so far. Jonny can keep his eye on the chat. And then I don't know if we have a few minutes at the end and somebody wants to ask a question in the chat, Jonny, I guess we could do that too.
Sure.
Does that sound like a good idea? Okay, so the very first question, we got 7 people here. So the first question that came in off of YouTube. I'm just going to read the question. You're not going to be able to see it on the screen necessarily because of all the crazy stuff we have going on here. Let me just get back over here and drag this off the screen so it doesn't cover Jonny's head because we wouldn't want that. So the first question, Jonny, came in from Dale, and Dale is always here in the live stream. He may be here today, he may not be, but he left a comment on one of my videos on YouTube, and this is what he asks. Hello, David. Always good. I would email you this question, but I don't think I've seen your email address. So for people that want to know how to send me a question via email, you just send it to info@homerecordingmadeeasy.com. That's info@homerecordingmadeeasy.com, and I will feature your question in an upcoming questions and coffee video. Okay, cool. So that's what you'll do next time, Dale. I have a humble music room where I record and mix. I don't have any acoustic treatment, but I have furniture, a bookcase, and a lazy boy, and carpet throughout. It's a fairly small room, about 12 feet by 11 feet, and part of the 12 feet is where there's an open closet where my amps are stacked. I'd send you a small video with a picture if I could. But anyhow, I've seen calculations of 3 to 4 panels to $500 to $800 worth of stuff. Can you see my confusion? Please, also, because of the smallness of my room, the monitors are pretty much up against the wall, but I think I could back everything off a foot or 2 if need be. Thanks again for all your continued help, Dale. Well, Dale, thanks for writing in. So Jonny, it sounds like he has a 12. I don't know what the measurements are in your neck of the woods, but he has about a 12-foot by 11-foot room. So it's probably not much bigger or smaller than the room you're in, Jonny.
This is a lot smaller than that.
Okay, well, so he has a small, what sounds to be like a small bedroom or something off to the side, and he has carpet on the floor, and he has a closet that is behind the seated position where he puts all his guitar amps, and he's looking for some acoustic treatment help, and he says he's finding that it seems to be rather expensive. And the good news is, I think, Dale, is you don't need to spend $800 on acoustic treatment for a room that small. You should be able to, and Jonny, maybe you can help here. What kind of acoustic treatment did you do in your room? I see you got some stuff behind you and on the sides of you. Can you kind of help Dale out? What did you do in your studio in a small space?
Well, there's a very small UK-based acoustics company, and I just happen to know one of the guys that founded the company, and they do a box of 24, I think they're 1 by 1 square pieces of broadband foam.
Okay.
And so I put them up on the walls to either side of the mix position, a little bit further along, where I was getting like a room node right there.
Okay.
And then at the back there's a couple of panels up there, and then I've got bass traps in the corners.
Okay, so you have bass traps in the corners in front of you, on the wall in front of you. What about directly in on that wall in front of you, not in the corners? Do you have any kind of foam there as well?
There's a window there, so.
Oh, there's a window there, so you have it kind of covered somehow.
Yeah, I've got some heavy theater curtains that cover the window.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think the good news is, Dale, you don't need to spend $800. That seems like an awful lot of money. But what you can do also, if you wanted to go to a website in America like Auralex.com, you can send them a sketch of your room, and for free, they'll go ahead and they'll analyze what you give them as far as the size of the room, what things you have placed in the room, and they'll give you kind of a recommendation for what kind of foam and where to put it. Now, you don't need to buy their stuff necessarily, but they do make really good acoustic treatment. But you can also find stuff online at a much more affordable cost. The place that I use is down in Florida called Acoustic Mac. That's acoustic, like acoustic guitar, Mac, MAC.com. And they have really nice acoustic treatment on a little bit less of a budget, and something like Auralex.com. And so I would highly recommend that you maybe check out Auralex to get kind of their recommendation and then shop around and see what you can find. And I'm sure you could do it for probably $200 to $300 as opposed to $800, I would think. Wouldn't you agree, Johnny?
Yeah, I was about to say somewhere between $250 and $300 would be good, and that'll get you, good coverage of your broadband frequencies.
Right.
And then it sounds to me like he's not going to need a whole lot of bass trapping because he's got all of those amps stacked in the back in the closet, and he's got some other bookcases, I think he mentioned.
Yeah, bookcases and carpeting on the floor.
Yeah, well, all of that's going to absorb a lot of the low frequencies. So a lot of that will help. Kind of with acoustic treatment, there's a lot you can do with just stuff that you already have. You don't have to have foam. Foam does a great job, but you don't have to have it.
Right. That's really true, especially if you're on a budget.
Yeah, improvise. Use what you have.
Yeah, use what you have. You can use things like if you have, furniture in the room, like a couch, or like you said, a lazy boy, like a recliner or something with a lot of stuffing in it, that's going to absorb the sound. If you have amps behind you, that's going to act as kind of a diffuser. Yeah. A bookcase in the room is going to act like a diffuser as well. So yeah, you can kind of just use what you have, and then where you need to fill in the pieces, you can spend a couple of bucks and you can get what you need. The other thing to think about too, and we don't talk about this a lot with acoustic treatment, one of the things, whether you have a room that's acoustically treated or not, to help take the room out of the mix, so to speak, is also mix it lower volumes. When you mix at higher volume levels and you got the sound bouncing all over the place, it makes it that much more difficult. So I've done some videos on this in the past where I say kind of a rule of thumb is, if you can listen to your mix in your seated position and you're typing on your keyboard and you can hear the keys, your fingers hitting the keys, that's a pretty good level where it's low enough to where you got to kind of really focus. That'll also help take the room out, not completely. And then the other thing you can do is you can get a pair of cans and you can mix on headphones. Now, I was talking about this, I think, in our last live stream. The headphones that I'm wearing now are a new pair of headphones I got by Focal. It's the same company that makes the monitors that I have. And these, I think, were $300, which is pretty expensive for a set of headphones. But they sound as good and as flat as my $2,500 pair of monitors. So instead of spending, $300, $400, $500, $600 on acoustic treatment, you can also just invest in a really good set of cans, and now the room doesn't matter anymore. Or if you don't have the ability, if you live in an apartment or something where you can't affix things to the walls and you're worried about that kind of stuff, or you have a significant other that doesn't want you putting stuff all over the walls, you can use a really good set of headphones. And I used KRK headphones for many, many years. They were like $150 and they worked fantastic. They were really good for mixing. These are a step up from that. They cost twice as much, but again, for the $300 for a pair of headphones is cheaper than buying a set of monitors. So those are some things, Dale, that you can do to try to help your problem there. But do those things, and I think you'll find your way. And if you have any other questions, just send it in, and I'll try to help you offline. I could try to help you a little bit more if you need some more help. Okay, cool. So thanks for writing in, Dale. Now let's get on over to question number 2. Let me pull this up on the screen. It's going to cover Johnny. Let me move it out of the way. Sorry about that. We don't want to cover your head. That wouldn't make any sense. Okay, this comes this comes from Steve, and Steve writes in, "Hello, David. Thank you for your videos and your tutorials I have purchased. Anyway, I'd like to ask you a question about buses. What I usually do in my Studio One Pro DAW is break up the drum bus, snare, top and bottom on one bus, kick in and out on another bus, toms, etc. Then I add parallel compression, maybe for the kick and snare, depending on the sound, and that uses most CPU without freezing up. I have tried the way you do it in the Quick Mix series with one drum bus for all the drums, one for the guitars, strings, etc., using the virtual tape machine by Slate Digital on all the tracks in all the plugins, which is a lot of them I have. The problem is that there's too much CPU strain on my Mac Mini with that amount of plugins. Do you have any suggestions, Steve? So it sounds like what he did. He's buying the, well, first, thank you for buying the Quick Mix series and all the products. I hope you like them. I hope they're helping you, and I really do appreciate your support. That's first and foremost. And what he sounds like he's doing, Johnny, is he's just kind of, copying what I'm doing because he's learning, and that's what you should be doing. But the problem is I use a busing system where all the groupings of instruments have their own bus. And then I put plugins across all the tracks, as you know. And that's putting a lot of strain on his Mac Mini. So what suggestions do we have? What do you want to answer that one first? And then I'll tell him what I think he could try a few things.
Sure. I think if your system is not handling using the virtual tape machine across all tracks, then perhaps you could use the virtual tape machine just on buses alone or just on the mix bus. That's one way around it. It sounds like he's either got. I mean, it's hard to say without knowing what the specs of his system is, but it sounds like maybe he's got quite a lot of heavy intensive plugins, and maybe a CPU that can't handle that, and so. What I always say, I don't know whether you'd agree with this or not, David, but what I always say is that less is more. So strip back what you really do not need in order to get the sounds that you are after. Now, obviously, that does mean that maybe you need to compromise your sound a little, and you may need to be creative with what you do have, which is going to help improve you as a mix engineer, is learning how to be creative with the limitations that you do have.
Excellent point. You're absolutely right. So the first thing I would tell you in a Mac Mini, although that's probably a fairly new machine, those have limitations in the processor speeds. It's not like an iMac or a Mac Pro. But a Mac Mini is a fantastic computer. The first thing you want to try that may be really inexpensive is how much memory is in that Mac Mini. They come standard with I think on the newest Mac Minis, you could put up to, I want to say 20 or 32. On the older ones, you could put up to 16. So the first thing you may want to try is if you have $50, $100, max out the RAM. That's the very first thing I would tell you to do. That's going to help you a little. Assuming you've already done that, Johnny's absolutely right. You're not going to necessarily be able to put, depending on the size of the session, if you have, say, 50 tracks, you're not going to be able to put 50 instances of the virtual tape machine. You're just not going to be able to. What you see me do in the Quick Mix videos is because I have a much higher, processed computer. So I have a 2013 Mac Pro, which has 64 gigs of RAM and has an 8-core processor. So I can put hundreds of plugins and the machine won't hiccup. But not most people don't have that in a home studio. I have it as a commercial business. So Johnny's right. Try just using the tape machine on, say, your buses. So maybe you'll only have 5 or 6 buses and you'll only have to put 5 or 6 instances of the tape machine, for example, or just on the master bus. That's a great way to start. And as Johnny says, strip as much stuff out as you can. You're still going to get that analog thing going on. You may not get as much of it, but you're going to still get it. And that's better than having nothing at all. And if that doesn't satisfy what you're looking to really do, then unfortunately, my friend, you might be in the market for a new computer. But again, it all depends on what you're doing with your studio. What do you want your studio to be in the next 4 to 5 years? And you want to think about your purchase that way. If you're going to buy a computer, whether it's Mac or PC, doesn't matter. Think about where you think your studio is going to be in a couple of years. And don't buy for today, buy for 2 years from now, if the budget allows it. That'll help you as well. So, I think that's about all you can really do. There's not much else you can do but that. So thanks for the question, Steve. I really do appreciate it. Let's go on to another one. Johnny, want to do another one? We'll do.
Yeah.
I got 40 of them, but we're not going to do 40. So let's do number 3. It's going to pop up on your head again, and I'm going to have to move it because, why not, right? Okay. So this one, someone sent me through a text message. They didn't leave me their name, unfortunately, but people just like to text me.
Wow.
It's Unbelievable. But hey, I welcome it. It's cool. So anyway, it says, hey, David, just wanted to get your ideas on Superior Drummer. They call it the industry standard. Is it much different than Easy Drummer, and what's the difference? And they said they sent it from their iPhone, but I don't know your name, so I apologize. Next time, I just know what your phone number is, and I'm not going to put that on the screen. So anyway, my thoughts on Superior Drummer is I don't use it. I use Easy Drummer. It's made by the same company, Tune Tracks. The way I understand Superior Drummer, it's like like maybe one step up above Easy Drummer. And I think the only real difference is, from what I've seen, is there's a lot more tweakability in Superior Drummer as opposed to Easy Drummer, meaning you can tweak different facets of the drum kit, which you can do in Easy Drummer, but you just can't do it as much as in Superior Drummer. And I wouldn't say the sound quality is any better. I don't know that for a fact, 'cause I never A-B'd them, but I use Easy Drummer 2, the second version, and I can tell you it sounds fantastic. So I don't know. I mean, is it any better? Is it the industry standard? I don't know if it's the industry standard. I just know there's a lot more customization you can do with it. But there's also other ones out there, Johnny. I know Addictive Drums has got a new release of something, which I know my our good buddy and my colleague Pete Woj over at Mix Better Now uses, and he swears by Addictive Drums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And so I don't know what you use, John. Do you use a third party? I think you just use all the stuff in Studio One, right? You don't use a third party drum software, because I know you program drums.
Yeah. I'll tell you who I use. I use what comes for free for the most part, and I get creative with it. So I use the Native Instruments Elements bundle that I think originally came with Studio One version 2.
Okay.
Of course, when you upgrade to version 3, it kind of goes with you. So I use that, and that has what they call the 1960s drum set that's in there, and it's a gorgeous drum set. It's modeled after I believe a Ludwig 1964 with, I think it's a Gretsch brass shell snare drum. Say that after a couple of pints.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it's a beautiful sounding drum set, and that's what I use. And I do all my programming on my 24-year-old Yamaha workstation, and for me that works really, really well. It helps that I am actually a drummer as well as a drum programmer.
Right.
But if you're not a drummer, and you're not into taking the time to do that, then something like Easy Drummer or Addictive Drums is extremely useful. Superior Drummer, I think one of the differences is, other than the tweakability, I think you get access to more drum sets.
Oh, great. Good point. It's just probably a larger library of stuff. Although with Easy Drummer, you can purchase expansion packs, which I've done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Easy Drummer, it's easy, and that's why I like it. You just drag grooves onto a timeline, and you can build a song like this. And I think in Easy Drummer 2, they even have you hit a button and automatically picks the intro, the chorus, the verse. I mean, it's really, it's as simple as it gets. But the answer to your question is, I just think that Superior Drummer has more customization, has more drum kits, as Johnny said. Sound quality is probably fairly equal, is my guess. And either one of them will be fantastic. So, I mean, again, if you're not into drum programming, and if you're new to using drum software, I would tell you Easy Drummer is probably the best way to go. That's my opinion.
They keep my drums in cases, so
Exactly. Exactly. So thanks for writing in. Let's get on to another question. Let's do another one. That was an easy one. So let's hit up another question. It's going to pop up on Johnny's head, next to Johnny's head, and I'm going to move it out of the way again. Oh, come on. Get over here, my mouse. Here we go. Let's go this way. Okay, this came in from Bob, and Bob writes in, as always, I really appreciate your talent, skills, and all the help and education around recording. The live sessions are fantastic. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Bob. We appreciate that. Johnny's a big part of the live sessions.
Yep.
And we have a live session coming up next Saturday night, which will be July 8th, depending on when you're watching this video, 2017, where it's That Plugin Show. Go check it out. We'll be looking at some new plugins. Anyway, I'm using Studio One Artist, and I have a question about mastering. When I import a mixdown to master, does the original time signature and speed, beats per minute, continue in the new session, or does it follow the time signature and speed of the new session and therefore require adjusting the new session to the original speed? I know where he's going with this. Yeah. If I import 3 songs to master, each with a different tempo, will the original continue or change in the new session? Since I want to retain the original, is there a way to fix this if necessary? Thanks again for your great work. Okay, so I think what he's saying is,
Yeah.
he's bringing in 3 separate songs, obviously through 3 different tempos. He has Studio One artists, so he must be bringing in into the edit screen because he doesn't have the mastering suite, which is totally fine. You can do that. So in the short answer is, I think, Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, is when you create that new session and you click on create a new song, you're going to get a dialog box. It's going to, as a matter of fact, why don't I just show you, right? I could probably put this up on the screen quickly. I don't know what the heck they're going to see. I got to see, what are they going to see in Wirecast here? They're going to see, okay, they're just going to see Johnny go away for a quick second. That's okay, Johnny. We covered your face here, but we'll bring this right back. So if I go to the start page and we go to create a new song, there's a dialog box that pops up here. Hopefully everyone's going to be, yep, I can see it on the screen. I was going to see it. Okay. So you're going to put the song title. You're going to pick where you want to put the song on your computer. And then down here where it says, there's a box that's unchecked as a default where it says stretch audio files to song tempo. You want to leave that unchecked. If you were to check that, what it's going to do is it's going to look at the tempo, which is up here, where in this case it's 70 beats per minute. And then all the music you bring into that session is going to go to 70 beats per minute, which is not going to sound very good. I promise you that. So if you leave, if you leave this unchecked, whatever tempo that mixdown was in, 120 for one song, 70 for another, 100 for another, it's going to retain the original tempo of the song. You'll have no worries. Do you agree with that, Johnny? I think that's pretty much where we're at. That's
the other failsafe is on the tracks that you drag them into, or you open them up into the session on. Go into the inspector of each one of those tracks and set the time stretch to don't follow.
Okay, do not follow the time stretch. Okay, yeah, so make sure that's unchecked and you do not follow the time stretch, and it will not affect your audio in any way, shape, or form. And then you can drag as many audio files into that new song and you should have no problems whatsoever. Okay, so thanks, Bob, for writing in. I hope that answers your question. If you have any other questions, you can certainly send in another email and I'll answer them. Let's see. Got time for a couple more, Johnny?
Yep, I do. It's 8:30. We're good.
Oh, you're good. Johnny's good. Johnny's on a time schedule here, so let me get this one out of the way here. Let me read the next one. The next question comes in from Finch. And Finch asks, hey, Dave, thank you so much for the videos. I think it's totally awesome what you guys are doing and there for us beginners and intermediates. But my question is, I purchased Studio One 3 and I have some third-party plugins. I want to know, how do I get Studio One to recognize the plugins? Thank you so much. Well, thanks, Fitch, for sending in the question, and thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. I'm glad these videos are helping you. So what you failed to tell us in the, and I responded to this in an email and I haven't heard back yet. Do you have Studio One Pro or do you have Studio One Artist? That's the first question I need to know, right, Johnny? Because if you have Studio One Artist, it's not going to recognize third-party plugins. That's one of the limitations of Studio One Artist. There's several, but the big 2 or 3 differences between Artist and Pro are, you can't use third-party plugins with Artist. You can't import or export as MP3 files. And there's another one that just escapes me off the top of my head. Doesn't have the mastering suite. Okay. Now you can purchase the add-on pack to get the MP3 thing. And I think there's also an add-on pack so you can use third-party plugins, right, Johnny?
Correct. Yes.
So for $79, $80 US dollars, again, go check their website, presonus.com. I think that's the price. You can add on to your Artist package. If not, you can upgrade to Professional. And if you upgrade to Professional, you're going to get all that stuff included, plus a bunch more samples, more loops, and you're going to get the full-on, professional recording software for probably a couple of $100 for the upgrade. So I'm assuming that you have Artists, and that's why it doesn't see the plugins. If for some reason you have Professional and you're still having the same problem, then when you install that third-party plugin, you need to make sure, and I don't know if you're on a Windows or a Mac, that'll change a little too. There may be a dialog box that'll ask you, where do you want to install the plugin? And you need to make sure that you install it in the same place that all the other plugins are installed, or Studio One won't recognize it. Also, in the Preferences window in Studio One, there is a way for you to look at the locations of where it's looking for the plugins. So you want to check that out as well. And just make sure all your directories are set up correctly. And if they are, it will recognize it. It'll see it in the browser. And the last tip I'll give you, because I had someone else make this same mistake a couple of weeks back. They had Studio One opened. They installed the third-party plugin, and they didn't shut down Studio One and reopen it, and they didn't understand why I didn't see it in the browser. So close Studio One, shut it down all the way, not just your session, the program itself. Install your third-party plugin, and then reopen Studio One, and it should scan for it when it's loading. You'll see it scanning, and then it should work. So those are the three things. You have anything else, Johnny? Did I miss anything there?
No, I think that's really, really good. I mean, what I do, because I'm on a PC, I basically have everything everything that I get. Like I've just got some Waves plugins, and I just have them go to the downloads folder, and Studio One automatically knows exactly where the DLLs are, and then it populates the Personas folder, and away we go. Bernard Duranti, and I have my third-party plugins.
Yeah, so if you have everything set up correctly, I've never not had Studio One recognize a plugin from any manufacturer. So it sounds like, my guess is you probably have artists, and that's probably the problem. A lot of people don't realize that there are some differences between if you bought like an audio box or something and it came with the free version of Studio One. They may not realize that they don't have the professional version, and that's one of the limitations. But try those things. If you have any other questions, if that doesn't help, just shoot me an email offline, and I will certainly, we'll get on Skype or something together, and we'll get you sorted out. It can be fixed easily, I'm sure. Okay.
Go
ahead, Johnny.
Another thing to say on that, actually, David, is if you're not sure what version you have, and you're not sure what you get with that version, when you go to the Personas website, go to personas.studio1.com, I think it is.
Yes.
It might be the other way around. It's one way around or the other. And then you can click on compare versions, and it gives you a nice little diagram that tells you what plugins you get, what VSTs you get, and all the other stuff, what access you have to the mastering, what access you have to all the other stuff.
Right. There's also a third version, right? There's like Producer is another version, or Prime, I think they call it.
There's Studio One Prime, which is the free, which used to be called Studio One Free. They've rebranded that to Studio One Prime.
Okay.
Producer was discontinued when version 3 was launched. So we now have Prime, Artist, and Professional.
Gotcha. So yeah, go to your PreSonus account, your user account, and check under your products and your software, and everything will be listed there. So if you're not really sure, and they're always changing things around as time goes on, so if you're not sure what you have or what you need, if you go there first, you could probably get your question answered pretty quickly, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for writing in. Let's do one more. We'll do one more, and then we'll head out of here. We'll check out the chat too. I'm sorry about not keeping my eye on the chat, guys. I know you're all there. It's like 20 some odd people watching. I really appreciate it. We're doing a live questions and coffee. Isn't this cool?
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Excellent. So our last question comes in from Russell, and Russell writes in, "Hi, David. At my church, we have a Studio Live 32.4.2 and still learning all the things that we can do. I have an iMac for the capture program and Studio One 3 Artist. I would like to know how to separate each song of this 1.5-hour recording, so in Studio One, I can edit each song individually. I really like all your videos on YouTube. It has helped a lot. Keep up your videos." Russell. Well, Russell, thanks again for writing in. Thanks for checking out the YouTube channel. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so you have a Studio Live mixer. You recorded a live performance. That's what, an 1.5 hours long, and you want to be able to mix each song separately. So what I would tell you to do is you need to take that 1.5 hour performance and get out the trusty blade tool in Studio One, or you can use number 3 on your keyboard as the hotkey. And you need to go at the end of each one of the start and stop of each one of those songs. You need to cut them into sections. So let's say you have 10 songs. You're going to have 10 on that long audio event. You're going to cut it up into 10 different chunks. Then you're going to take your start and your end flag, and you're going to put at the start of the first song and at the end of the first song, your start and end markers. Then when you go to export, it's going to ask you in the export dialog box, where do you want to export from? And one of the choices is going to be between the start and end markers. If you export that way, that'll export that one song that you cut up as a separate file. Now you need to do that 10 times if you have 10 songs. Then you can bring those songs into Studio One separately if you wanted to, into a different session, and you can mix them and process them separately. It's a little bit of a manual labor to get this all to happen, but it can be done. Johnny, is there a quicker way to do that? Or is that the only way to do this? That's the way I know how to do this.
If you have Studio One Artist, it probably is the only way that you can do it. If you have Studio One Professional, you can use the arranger track to help you out a little bit. So you have like you can basically use the arranger track so that you have one section for each song. And then
there you go. I didn't think of that.
That automatically kind of cuts it up. Now, what you can do then is you can drag that section into a scratch pad, and you can have unlimited scratch pads. So you can put all 10 into 10 individual scratch pads.
Right.
And then you've got all access to all 10 songs there. And then you can export each one from its own scratch pad, I believe.
Oh, okay. But that's only in professional, right?
Yeah.
That's not an artist.
But otherwise, if you're doing it in artist, then the method that you recommend there is, yes, it's a little bit labor intensive, but I'll tell you what, I think you're probably going to get the best results because you know where each song starts and finishes, and you can be absolutely certain of that.
Especially if it's a live performance, because you may have some dialogue or some talking, introducing the song, introducing band members between songs. There may be, if you have there may be some clever things that were said that you want to leave in. And so you you can manually pick your start and end points. Now, if you're using the software Capture that came with the Studio Live, and it's been a long time since I used Capture, I believe there's a way to set markers inside of Capture and export those as separate files. I don't know that for sure, but something tells me a few years ago when I tried that, it did work. Don't know. So you may want to check that out as well. But
I'm not familiar with Capture, so
yeah, but if you're recording into Studio One, the way to do it is the way that Johnny and I kind of described it. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any other questions around this topic or want some more clarification, Russell, just write in and I will try to help you, or I'll send the question to Johnny and Johnny can try to help you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all the questions that we have for today. We've been on here about 30 minutes. There's 21 people here. I don't know what's going on in the chat. I want to thank everybody for coming. If anyone has a quick question for Johnny or myself, we can try to answer if you want to participate in the live questions and coffee video. And then we'll put this on YouTube and people can check it out in the archive. We have Chris here. We have Rock here. We have Greg here, Chris here. We have a whole bunch of people here. Let's see. Anything going on in the chat? Let's see. Everyone just kind of saying hello. Someone wants to know best piano VST for not too much money. What do you think, Johnny? Piano VST.
Yeah, there's a Presonus one. Go and take a look at the Presonus store, and there is a Presonus. I think they call it the Presonus Grand. I think, and it's pretty reasonable quality for a pretty low price.
Oh, cool. Greg says I'm right about Capture. Oh, cool. Okay, so it's been such a long time, and since I've used it now, they have Capture 2 or Capture 3, so I don't even know. They probably have all those features in there. But this was back in the early days of using Capture, and I could have sworn I did it that way. So thanks, Greg, for confirming that. So that's another way, Russell, you can do it if you're watching this video. The Future wants to know, when is working with loops coming? The Future, it's coming soon. Johnny Geib is working on it. Hopefully he's buttoning it up, and as soon as it's ready to rock and roll, I'm going to let you know, but it is coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. Any other questions? I don't know if you see anything in there in the chat, Johnny, that I might have missed. If not,
Rockvox says, looking for a good electronic drum synth VI. I think we kind of talked about Addicted Drums and...
Yeah, Addicted Drums, Easy Drummer, Superior Drummer. Even Steven Slate SSD4 is really good. I have that, and I've heard there's an SSD5 on the way, but I've been hearing that for a while now. But yeah, any one of those, they all sound great. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of what you more comfortable working. But even, like I said, even Easy Drummer, which is probably the most affordable, sounds fantastic. I mean, it really does. I mean, and I'll be honest, a lot of records that I get into mix for clients and stuff, 80% of them are using drum VSTs. Yep. And they sound like real drums. They really do. They're great. So that's kind of that. Any other questions? If not, we're going to wrap this up. We've been on here about 35 minutes. We have 22 people here that have come to our live stream that didn't even know we were going to be on. This was just a kind of a questions and coffee video. I wanted to do live and try something different and to say hello to everybody. And I wanted to see if Jonny wanted to help. And Jonny, I appreciate you helping and helping answer some of these questions.
You're welcome, David.
We'll do this. I'm sure we'll do this again soon. Just to why not? We love getting on YouTube and talking to all our followers live. And again, stay tuned for next Saturday, July 8th, 2017, the second episode of That Plugin Show with myself, Johnny Scotland, Johnny Geibert, the home studio trainer. We're all going to pick some plugins and we're going to demo some stuff and turn you on to some stuff that you may have not seen before. That'll be coming. And then we'll be doing the week after that, another episode of interactive mixing, which should be cool. Oh. So that'll be fun as well. So stay tuned to the Facebook page, Home Recording Made Easy, and all that stuff will be posted. And until the next time, this has been Dave with HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com and Johnny with JohnnyLipshamStudios.com or .co.uk, right? Is that what it's called? .co.uk. And we will speak to you in the near future. Thanks for coming, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.